Prime Minister Mark Carney and Canada's premiers are in Charlottetown today and tomorrow with a crowded agenda. Wildfires, interprovincial trade, and of course, the new Trump tariff threat. Our chief political correspondent, David Akin, is in Charlottetown, and he joins us now. So, David, the White House announced these new tariffs on Monday, just as premiers were gathering where you are. What has your reaction been to these new threats?
Well, Miranda, defiance is really the word, and you can't be more simple than that. Remember, the Trump tariffs that went into place last year, after they went into place, most provinces removed United States-made alcohol from provincial liquor stores. And provinces did that in response to illegal tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, autos, and softwood. Ontario, the Ontario Liquor Authority, the LCBO, Ontario alone was buying $1 billion a year of U.S. booze, and that has all stopped. So we asked Ontario Premier Doug Ford yesterday, are you ready to lift Ontario's booze ban in the wake of these new U.S. tariff threats? Doug Ford says, no way.
With President Trump, we need to stand up to the bully, and we need to hit him tariff to tariff, all the way across the board.
Now, both Ford and BC's David Eby are even saying it's time to consider further retaliatory steps, that if we get to a place 30 days from now and there's no agreement and Trump proceeds with these new tariffs, it will be time for Canadians to punch back, dollar for dollar. That's the point that Doug Ford was making. And as for BC's Premier Eby, we asked him as well about BC's booze ban, and it doesn't sound like it's going away anytime soon either.
We know what we stand for. We know who our friends are, and we're willing to stand up for those things. There is not a chance in hell that U.S. alcohol is going back on the shelf in British Columbia.
Very strong words there. Now, David, only Alberta and Saskatchewan continue to sell American alcohol products. What are those two premiers saying?
That's right. So that's Alberta Premier Daniel Smith and Saskatchewan's Scott Moe. And their message has been, they want a united front, no question, but their message has been they would like less confrontation and more negotiation, more diplomacy. Here's Scott Moe.
The ultimate goal isn't to counter tariff and further weaken the North American economy. The ultimate goal is to get to a renewed agreement.
And that, of course, is the ultimate goal of the Prime Minister, Mark Carney. Now, the PM was in Ottawa yesterday, but he did speak to premiers here by video conference. They sort of had a virtual meeting really to talk about and get first thoughts on this new tariff threat. Ahead of that meeting with the premiers, the Prime Minister spoke to reporters in Ottawa, and we asked him, well, what about these provincial booze bans? Will you order provinces to lift them? And the Prime Minister says, no, that at this point, yet that's a provincial responsibility. It is a decision of each premier what to do. And so if booze bans are coming off, then it's going to be up to a province. Of course, the Prime Minister is hoping that there is an agreement. All the premiers do. But the Prime Minister says we can't have sectoral agreements. Agreements say just on steel and not on everything else. We can't have an agreement just on booze bans. It's got to be a comprehensive, modernized Canada, United States, Mexico trade agreement, CUSMA. Canada's position all along has been Canada wants an excellent deal. Canada is not going to accept a not bad deal, and no deal, in fact, is better than a middling deal or a sectoral deal. So that is the position of the Prime Minister and most of the premiers. The Prime Minister also letting the premiers know, everybody get ready for any option. All options are on the table, possibly including more retaliations in a month's time.
All right, let's look ahead now. David, what exactly is on tap for today in Charlottetown?
Lots more meetings. So the premiers met yesterday. They met with Indigenous leaders yesterday. They met with the Prime Minister. Today, the premiers are going to spend most of the day by themselves talking about some important issues for province-to-province trade, for example, who knows what. We've got wildfires going on around the country, and premiers are wondering, is it appropriate to have a national wildfire strategy for, say, the federal government to buy a fleet of water bombers it can deploy? There's different views on that. Again, coming back to BC's Premier David Eby, he was was saying last week that BC's invested a lot in new equipment, in firefighting research, and it doesn't necessarily want to cede that to federal authorities, although it's happy to help. So what more can be done to manage and coordinate this response to wildfires? And then, of course, there's healthcare. And at every First Minister's meeting ever, all time, premiers are going to complain that the federal government does not provide them with enough money to deliver healthcare services. And then, of course, we may have a mushrooming national unity crisis. We've got this referendum about to happen in Alberta. In the meantime, there's going to be an election in Quebec. Right now, the Separatist Party in Quebec is leading in the polls, could form government with the intent to hold a referendum again. Are premiers ready to deal with a mushrooming unity crisis? That may all get pushed aside because we're dealing with wildfires, healthcare, Donald Trump. Now, the Prime Minister is on his way to PEI. Even though they met virtually yesterday, the PM's going to be here later today. They're going to have premiers and the Prime Minister are going to have a dinner on the north part of the island at a National Historic Site. And then tomorrow, the premiers and the Prime Minister will sit down for one more set of meetings to see if they can hash out some of these other issues in addition to Donald Trump and his new tariff threat.
All right, a very packed agenda and a couple of days of a lot of busy talks and a lot on the agenda there. Thank you so much for the update, David. We appreciate it. That is our chief political correspondent, David Akin, reporting from Charlottetown.